And then about 12 years ago, we changed the name from Air Care Solutions to Peke as we broadened the range. And about 8 years ago, my son took the company over from me. I told him I was going to retire. I think I'm working harder than ever now, to be blunt. So what I'm keen to do is, at my age, and I'm keen to go around and explain to people why you need good respiratory. I always start by saying in the wood sector that good respiratory is an excuse not to have good dust extraction. It's a combination of both that gives you the protection. And I think that's an important message. I end up usually by saying, well, I hope you like our respirators, but there's many out there, but I hope you're going to buy ours if you're going to buy any. So as I said, what we try to do is produce product. And the problems we've got is airborne contaminants, as you know. Many of the woods that we're using today are highly carcinogenic. Some of them are actually very skin irritant as well. There was a guy in Norfolk Myers Club where he turned a particular type of wood, and 3 hours later he was in hospital on a respirator. Particular type of wood. So obviously in the protection programs that we have, we're here to protect against dust and fumes primarily. And as we get older, where our lungs are not so aggressively working, it actually, by giving positive air, it gives you assistance to breathing, and it also reduces your fatigue factors. The problems with breathing and hearing, or the lungs and the hearing, are the two senses we have in our systems that once they go wrong, it's too late. It's not going to get any better with age. From hearing, it's like that. And certainly it's the same with your lungs. The more exposure that you get to dust, which are not respirable, that can stay in the lung, the more likely you are to get some form of a problem. During COVID, I'm part of I see a lot of stuff come from CDC. Don't believe half of it, but some of the things I do see from there is about 68% of people that passed during COVID passed because of preconditions. It's a very, very high number of people who didn't have really, had something wrong with them. A very low percentage of people who had nothing wrong with them but died through different genetic issues. So we obviously try to protect you against dust, gases, and fumes. Disposable masks. You have to be clean shaven to wear a disposable mask. I'll come on to the subject. Does anyone know what a protection factor is? Usually most people don't. That's why I start by asking that question. A lot of, sorry?
The sun protection.
Yeah, well, no, there is the PF for sun, yeah. But in the respiratory dust situation, so many people look at how a respirator works and look at the efficiency of the filter. But if it's leaking around the edge, it's not doing you any good. So all respirators are measured by using a PF factor. NIOSH is the approval body here in the United States for approval if you're in an OSHA regulated environment. Fortunately for us, this section of our business, you're not OSHA regulated, so we can sell and offer European approved products. What does that mean in real terms? Price is lower because you don't have all the regulatory costs, and I'll explain that in a little while. And also the standards actually are quite new. They're 11 to 12 years old, and they mix between dry and wet dust, whereas the American standards were 38 years ago now, and they're still on one type of standard using silica dust. But to be blunt, it's very antiquated. They have just introduced a new standard for the medical industry, which is called a P100 standard. This is looking at the problems of nursing and medical and dental people in terms of, and it's not post-COVID, this was pre-COVID, this was being worked on. Because I can tell you, fundamentally, the medical industry knows that disposable masks do not protect medical workers. And it's one of economics. I consult for the Saudi MOH, Ministry of Health. I also consult for the Qatarian Ministry of Health. In all the major hospitals in Saudi, we have powered air on all our ICU and all our EMS people. And we have, Peke has about 7,000 or 8,000 respirators in use daily in Saudi Arabia, in the hospital system there. Here, we have some migration to powered air. Many of our doctors and nurses had to buy their own during COVID. The hospital wouldn't buy them. But people like Johns Hopkins Hospital did equip all their senior people with powered respirators because they realized the benefits of it. I'll come on to that as a separate subject. Stop me if you've got any questions, by the way, as we go through this, okay? Because I can talk a long time on this subject. So you start with disposable masks, and then you can migrate to a half mask respirator. Disposable mask is you're clean shaven and you have the right size because they come in 5 sizes. If you've got the right size, you'll get a protection factor of about 5. If you go to something which is like a rubber half mask, and we don't have, well, we do have one in our range, but it's more the industrial side. If you have something which has got this type of seal around it, and you're clean shaven, you can get a protection factor of 8 at best. When, on the scale, it's the protection factor is the judgment of what you're breathing in versus the atmosphere. It's a division of the outside atmosphere to the inside of the mask and what you're breathing.
So what is perfect and what is terrible?
Wearing nothing is terrible. These are very, very low protection factors. So therefore, the risk to exposure from these respiratory dusts is higher if you don't have a perfectly fitting mask. The other aspect of a negative mask is you're using your own breath to breathe in and out. They do complement that with a valve now in some masks, as we do, because it takes the resistance out and reduces your fatigue factors. But typically, you're still negatively breathing, and you don't need much of a gap in these masks. I mean, if people go on an Atkins diet, all the hospitals, by the way, have to do 2 fit tests a year on all their staff. And that's because people go on diets and they go on Ozempic, and before you know it, they change their face size and they could be exposed. So under OSHA, any OSHA system which uses any form of mask, negative, has to have 2 fit tests a year. And they use a saccharin test to smell it and taste it. It takes the average doctor about an hour to go through that test, so they take half a day off. So Hopkins have all these doctors taking 1 man day off a year just to be fit tested. Just an example. And they have to keep records of all of that. So mostly the negative masks are either in the form of a cup mask, disposable, you see everyone wearing them, or you get a rubber half mask where you can put a cartridge on, you know, be it a dust cartridge or a fume cartridge or slightly higher grade. It's one of economics for people, as well as one recognizing how severe your issues are, or you don't have any issues, or the types of wood that you use. And if you're using some of the light woods, it's not a problem. But if you're using ash or walnut or any of those redwoods, they are highly carcinogenic in very small doses. So that was really where the advent of powered air came, because we wanted people to have a higher protection factor. Now, you can tell from my accent, I'm not from New York, but in the UK, when we first started that standard, we had to create a standard for it because there was nothing. We came to the United States, started talking with NIOSH way back in probably late 80s, early 80s, middle of 80s actually. And they didn't have a standard, but the committee was controlled by 3M and MSA. Mine Safety Appliances is that company, 2 very famous PPE companies here in the States. Everyone knows 3M. They created the standard with NIOSH because Raycal, my company, came with the first powered respirators here. The problem with that was we were an outside coming in telling everyone you don't need to use disposables, you don't need to wear half masks. So that committee was controlled by them, and they set the protection factor as nominally 25 for a powered air unit. I have never seen a powered air unit fitted to anybody that's less than 200. And the higher the airflow, the higher the protection factor, and you can get up to 5,000 out of a powered respirator system. But the standards have never changed here. In a lot of applications in those days, and I use Alcan Aluminium Company, where they pull the stick out of the smelter and they got all the fumes coming off the fluorides. We did an in-house measurement there. This was in their Canadian plant, and we had a protection factor of nearly 400. So the local safety inspectors allowed that product to be used, and they bought like 500 or 600 units from us at that time. That's just an example of many, but we had to go around doing independent testing to prove the protection factor, because this nominal protection factor of 25 had been set, and is still in existence today. It's crazy. I talked about the NIOSH system and the European system. If we go to get a product approved in Europe, and we are developing a new concept I'll share at the end, it takes about 10 to 12 weeks to get it into the approval and get the testing going. And it costs us about $15,000 to start that process. If I come to the States and put one in at NIOSH, it can take me 18 months and cost $100,000. So when you start to see NIOSH approved products sold by 3M and Sundstrom and MSA, one of the reasons the price is up there is one, the regulatory cost of getting it approved and maintaining that approval. Typically for a NIOSH approved systems, it costs about $25,000 a year to keep that and maintain that approval, as well as the quality assurance processes that you have to have in place. It's an extremely bureaucratic, unnecessary system, to be blunt. But anyways, that's what we have to conform to if you want to sell to OSHA regulated environments. So you guys and other industries like chimney sweeps who do chimney sweep cleaning, they're not regulated because it's domestic. So we get away with using European product. It is important though to have quality product. When I first came to America with my wife, she said to me after a couple of years, she said, I realized there's two things more expensive in America. I said, what's that? She said, your respirators and divorce. And she also said she coined the phrase of USA means you, so anyone. And it's true, your liability insurances that we have to have in place to sell this type of product. Peke has a $3 million single line claim cover policy in place, primarily for eye injury, from stuff coming off a lathe. So, but we have to have the minimum we have is 3 million, and our suppliers insist that we have that of these respirators. So,
you haven't had a claim?
No. When I sold the company to 3M in '98, Bob Hirschlock, who was the CEO of 3M then, they were doing the due diligence. He said, "Where's your claims?" And they went to 9 companies around the world, and we didn't have any claims because of the way we presented the product, put the disclaimers in, and everything. At that time, 3Ms were selling a thing called a nuisance mask, disposable mask. They had 22,000 lawsuits on their books at that time. That's why they withdrew that product. You don't see that nuisance mask. It was called an 8500, I think. You don't see that anywhere anymore. So we're very conscious. And by the way, Peke only ever sells direct. All of our products are that we only deal directly with clients. And the reason we're quite a small company, but it's misrepresentation. These manufacturers do not want any misrepresentation on the product into the marketplace. So, and that's why we are exclusive with them, for them, and into the market here in Canada, actually. Okay. So powered air, the advent of powered air was through these original ones for the mining industry, and then they migrated into the welding industry, where a welder would nod up and down to do his welding, nod the shield up and down, that give him neck stress. And then you got the advent of auto darkening lenses for welders. And then you combine that with powered air, and they never had to take the thing up and down. So all the neck stress injuries went away. And you had very high protection factor because welding fume is particulate primarily, unless you've got pickled metal, metal which is old and got some stuff paint or stuff lead on it. It's all particulate matter. So we then developed these systems. I mentioned to you that you'll only ever hear about an N95 here primarily if you're in the medical market, but there is a series of regulations now which cover both the filtering efficiency and the type of challenge that is put to the mask. It's either a silica or it's a DOP test to check the resistance. But primarily, these are for particular types of industry. And the one I said you mainly see here is the N. So you'll get an N95, which is 95% efficient down to 0.3 micron. Then you'll get an N99, which is 99% efficient down to 0.3 micron. Or you get an M100, which is 99.9% down to 0.3 microns again. There's another standard called HEPA. HEPA is 99.9% to 0.0001 micron. And that's typically what you see in these respirators are levels from either equivalent of N95, N97, between an N99, that's the European standard, or you go straight to the HEPA level. This is a little chart that shows you it's time-weighted averaging. So there's a lot of tests done on the exposure of people in a particular environment to see which is the best system to use and what's the maximum protection they get. But basically, the most penetrating dusts in this application is 0.2 to 0.3 microns. Most of the other stuff you can either ingest and it goes through the system, or you cough or you sneeze. But when you get levels of dust between 2 and 3 or smaller, it can sit in the lung. If it's silica or it's asbestos, which is like a little needle, it stays there, agitates the lung, and that's why you see emphysema, COPD, and these other lung issues coming up. It basically case hardens the lungs. The lung is no longer flexible and moving, and that's where your breathing starts getting more difficult. Just some of the industries that you've probably heard about. The mining industry, black lung disease was prevalent and is still prevalent in the mining industry. Silicosis, that's the new silica dust. You see all these kitchen companies making these kitchen tops out of this stuff today, or granite, or gravestones, do I say? And anything like that. Silica is the new asbestos. It's the new problem child, as OSHA are seeing. And so chimney sweeps, for instance, who are going up on the outside of a chimney and grazing the chimney out, that's silica dust coming at them. Famously recently, if you watch TV very much, you see the Cornerstone advert on the TV. They've got a guy standing there, sanding away, got no respirator on. You don't see that advert anymore. The OSHA inspector was in there like a shot, saying, "What the hell are you doing?" Because those guys were being exposed to silica dust. Asbestosis, that was a big one way back in the 90s when you were taking out your buildings. You know, there was a big market in those days for that. Again, powered air was the only solution. Zinc is another problem, welding fuel, and lead poisoning. You know, a lot of people using lead products can end up with lead poisoning. I've mentioned OSHA. I've talked about NIOSH approvals.
Excuse me, can somebody?
MSHA, which
excuse
is for the mining industry, and that's coupling good respiratory protection with intrinsically safe systems, because obviously underground you can get explosions, so it has to be explosion-proof.
Eric, stop the background noise.
Jay Senecal's got noise.
I've mentioned all these different types: half masks, loose-fitting headpieces, powered respirators can be used with any of these systems. And it's one of subjectivity, really. What would you like to wear? What you feel most comfortable in? But there isn't a powered air system out there, be it ours or MSA or 3M's, that isn't very high protection factors these days. And I've mentioned assigned protection factors, and this relates to that. I can leave a copy of this presentation with the club so you can review it at your leisure. I've mentioned to you earlier about, and I use this as a prime example, a lot of people said, how efficient is the filter? Well, it's 99.9%. That's great, but what happens if it's leaking around the side? So I use the window effect of that. The thermal is great if you've got thermal glazing in, but if your window frame's leaking, it's not doing you much good. And that's the same with the respirator.
Question on that.
Yeah.
If you have positive pressure within the mask, any contamination is going to be blown out.
Correct.
You're not breathing it in.
No, that's the beauty of powered air.
I'm saying you don't have a perfect seal.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you don't have a perfect seal because it's pushing it away. So yeah, that's the benefit of powered air over a negative mask, where if you've got a leak, you're really it's a negative pressure, so it's breathing back through those gaps. So the beauty of powered air, and for instance, this one has 160 liters or 5 CFM coming down across the face. You can have a small gap, but it's pushing it all away, so it's not coming into that.
Powered air, you had to have a perfect seal.
No. What I'm saying, with a half mask or disposable, you have to have a perfect seal. Now I say that, you take a firefighter in an oxygen deficient atmosphere, if he's wearing self-contained breathing, that has to be a perfect seal, because he's relying on that tight seal and breathing through this. So there are different them. You'll see them strapped 5 times around the head. So there are certain applications in oxygen deficient atmosphere, but none of these respirators can be used in an atmosphere less than 21% oxygen. Okay, so that's another important factor. Wood toxicities and allergens. This is becoming more and more interesting for people. There is a report coming out from the University of Minneapolis. It's being funded by, I think, partly CDC and some private funding, where they're listing every type of wood that are used in industry and hobbyists, and they're listing the type of respirator that you need to wear with that. It was due to be published last year. It was held, but we are being given the rights to publish that on our website when it's due out. Okay, but it's going to be a very comprehensive list. On our website, when you see it, you'll see here a list of some of the toxicities that we have. So try and straighten that out a bit for you. But again, I'll leave this as a reference because it's quite small. But these are some of the woods and some of the toxicity levels, and we reference these, just to give you an example. Coca-Cola falls in the range of, if you have no preconditions, you're good enough for a 0.3 micron. But if you've got any precondition at all, then you have to go to HEPA filter. That's our recommendation. Some of those woods are also skin irritants as well. I don't know. Yeah. In fact, I had a guy from Texas, and he has just, the respirator on the end has a large cover that comes in, tucks in the neck. He's had to go to that because he's got skin irritation from using that wood. But he's sanding it like crazy, and he's having to clean his filter out about every 2 hours, but he's doing it as a profession. And again, this is more information on sensitivity and how sensitive you are to certain types of wood. I've mentioned before that it's important to have good extraction in your shop. And the other thing which I say is, remember, so many people finish their turning and they take the respirator off and leave it on the bench and walk out. Well, take it off when you get out, because it's what you can't see that you're still breathing in. So I do car finishing, or I do vintage cars, and I have a large warehouse with 5 or 6 vintage cars in. And when I'm working on those, I take my respirator and it's out in the car park, and I don't take it off until I leave there. So just a tip, don't take it off inside the place. I've mentioned chimney sweeps. This product is the most popular one amongst chimneys sweeps. There's about 9,000 in use by chimney sweeps in this country. There's a lot of chimney sweeps, and they've all got beards. I don't know what it is about that industry, but you find a chimney sweep without a beard, it's amazing. And one guy said to me, I was going to shave it off, but he said, my wife hasn't seen me without a beard, so I've got to buy one of these. It's cheaper than divorce. So again, I've mentioned the types of respirators that we have. N95 is the common one, half-mast respirators of the type I've shown you. And then we come on to the powered air, which we strongly recommend in our industry or your industry. They're the best solutions for you. Peke does a range. We do sell to industry. We are exclusive suppliers to first responder market for to the US Air Force and US Navy. And that's chemical agent protection systems. That's respirators with special canisters. And we've been marketing those products to the military here for nearly 26 years overall. The last 12 years through Peke. And so we have a very good reputation at the high end as well. So we are exclusive to the US Air Force and US Navy on all their first responder programs. That's our other division. And then I've mentioned these masks again. I'm going to leave you some leaflets you can scroll on, and you can see all the detail on our products. So leading on to the products, if I may, we often get people who are doing it as a hobby, very light work, but they don't want to get fogged up and they don't want to get misted. And this is a unique product which is made by JSP out of the UK. And so much it has a nose bridge and I've got a patent on it. So you don't fog when you wear this. And it's a very simple, relatively low priced. It's a disposable mask. This one fits about 95% of all face sizes. And it just pops in. It comes with 3. And so you can change the mask easily with the goggle. And you can wear that with, we have 2 shields in our range. This is one of our shields. So you can wear it as a combination. If it's a budget issue, budget price issue, this is about $70 with 3 masks. This is $37. Out of interest, Otis company, we do have a NIOSH approved respirator, which is used by Johns Hopkins. And we sold, I think, about 1,100 to Johns Hopkins during the COVID crisis. So they use Otis. Otis produce all the lenses for Bush and Loan, all their prescription lenses, do about $100 million a year with Bush and Loan. And they've now taken that technology and made it into the perfect visor. So across the whole field of vision on this, and there's another product, a little bit higher upgrade, it's optically correct. And this one is actually used in the operating theaters now at Johns Hopkins by the special surgeons because it's so optically correct under bright lights. But we've introduced it to the turning industry in the chimney sweep market. This meets Z87 ANSI standard for impact. There's another standard called Z87 Plus, and I didn't bring it with me tonight, unfortunately, but there's a grade of mask which has greater surround. It actually, I do have it here. It's this form. So you have much greater protection all the way around. It's ANSI Z87 Plus. The visor pops in and out. We have overlays to protect it against glue and scratching because all these visors are polycarbonate. It's the only material that is used. So this is the sister of that product. And again, it's quite popular amongst turners because of the design and its impact capabilities.
Must be hard to wear.
Well, it's hot. It's not hot in this form because you tie it to a powered air unit, and I'll let you try it afterwards. So this is one model. The most popular model we have is the power cap. And you've probably seen this around. A lot of wood clubs have this. I think at Norfolk Myers, I think about 9 or 10 of their people have this unit now. This delivers 160 liters of air down across the face for up to 8 hours from this rechargeable battery pack. It's Sanyo cell in there, same as Apple still use Sanyos, by the way, for all their cells. It's got a life of about 8 hours. It's a continuous use, and it will run for 4,000 recharges, 4,000 cycles. So the other thing about this product, it's ergonomically balanced on the head. I developed the very first one of these about 29 years ago. I sold the rights to JSP. That's why I'm related to them still after all these years. Their engineers have improved it greatly since then. So they've made it so it's ergonomic. So when you're turning, it's pulling back, so you're not going to get any neck stress. So you've got impact protection, 160 liters of air coming down through these filters, which is 95% efficient down to 0.3 microns, sorry. Cost, the battery is very lightweight, I said it's small. The filter system comes off like that. And comes as a pre-filter and a main filter. What we recommend in this industry, because we're living in a very humid situation here, is that you don't want to get snow capping on there. So at the end of each session, just vacuum that surface off. And about once a week, vacuum that surface off. If you do your hobby 3 or 4 times a week, those filters should last you at least 6 months. Any of these filter membranes today are made of a man-made material. They're a pleat. Don't use an airline on it, only use a vacuum cleaner because you don't want to damage the membrane. But they do rely on an element of electrostatic, the air moving across it to give you the efficiency. And down here, we have a horrible situation with humidity. I take mine off, I put them in a Ziploc bag in this airtight case when I'm not using it. So again, that's really, if you vacuum off the way I said, I've got a Dyson I use, they will last you longer than that. It's only that efficiency factor that changes because they've got probably a bit too humid or too wet with the humidity. This is only a particulate respirator. You can't do any fume work with this one.
Is that, is this thing the same as that?
Yeah, this is impact protection, Z87. All these visors meet Z87 or Z87 Plus. And the 87 plus is really relating to the overall surround now. And they actually have a side deflection test now, which they've just introduced, ANSI. This is a European standard. You'll see it marked on the top here. On the ones that are ANSI, you'll see Z87 written on the top here.
That's the weighted one.
Any of the filters have any sort of an indicator to let you know when it's time to change them?
Some of the upper models have. With this one, the way you tell it is, to be honest, you start fogging. You'll start fogging if the filter's clogged. But by doing that, I mean, the other problem you've got is a bit like your vacuum clean. If you don't clean it out, you'll burn the motor out. So on this, that's why another reason we recommend you keep the filters clean. It's 8-hour running with about 4,000 recharges. So it's got a very, very long life. It's a Sanyo cell in there. It's got a USB port on there. Any of these systems, like your cell phone, you charge it up, charge it down, charge it up, let it run down. Do that in the house before you start using. And then these batteries don't have any memory.
I have a trend that I can't wear.
No, it's too heavy for people. Yeah.
Get it. Get that.
We get a lot of
I had a 3M2, and the problem with that is I kept bumping
on the back.
in the back.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people like it on the back. Which 3M model did you have? Do you remember? Was it an AirMate?
And,
How long ago?
02.
02. Was it called an AirMate? Was it called AirMate? Blue color or yellow color? I know, yeah. Because I sold my whole range to them in 98, and they used.
Has this changed? I bought that. I've got that one, but about 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago.
No, the only thing that's changed really is the battery. We now have battery conditioning. You probably had a little carriage to put your battery in to charge it.
Yes.
Yeah, they've done away with that, and they now have this system.
It was lithium ion then.
Sorry?
It was lithium ion.
It was lithium ion then, yeah. These are.
So from a use point of view, is there much difference?
No.
As long as the battery's running?
Yeah, it's the same, yeah. Okay. I've got another battery in my bag there. This one I didn't charge up before I bought it. So I'll get the other battery out in a minute, and let me get that out now so you can try the unit.
This is getting. I can't go in there for 5 minutes in. Yeah, I got it for $5 for the
I thought I brought another battery with me. It may be in the car. I may have to go out to the car and get it, I think. This one is 579. Yeah, it's 579. And if you're a new purchaser for the first time, there's a $20 discount and free shipping. Okay. So if you're an existing user, obviously not, but if you're a new customer of ours, you get a $20 discount off that price. Sorry? Oh, the replacement filters are $48 like that. And then you can get the pre-filters for $20 as well. When it comes as a pair, it comes with the pre-filter in it. Okay. All our supplies, by the way, our warehouse is in Punta Gorda. So you're pretty close. We've been in Punta Gorda now about 8 months. We moved from Delray Beach. We're the other side of the pond, so to speak. And we moved over here. Before that, we were in Frederick, Maryland. And we have a website. You can have a chat room and everything. The next product up in the range is this one. And this has become very, very popular in terms of what it does. It's a HEPA filter system. You have 5 different air levels. This delivers 160 liters of air. This delivers from 160 up to 235 liters of air. So the higher the airflow, the higher the protection factor. The other thing about it, if you do suffer with COPD or emphysema. And we've had a lady who worked in Ash, she couldn't do a hobby anymore. She had to go to this level of protection, and it helped her breathing as well. So the higher the airflow obviously gives you more positive pressure, gives you less resistance in there. This unit has a clogging system on it. You can set the speed up, and then it clogs. You hear the motor pick up, so it's telling you it's going to work hard, it's going to carry on work, and then it'll alarm. It's a 92 dBA alarm system in there. So you can set this at different settings. I'll go off in a minute. There we go. And then this is battery warning. So when it gets to that lowest one, it goes red, but you've got 10 minutes to leave the atmosphere. It gives you another warning on it. Okay. Now with this one, it's a HEPA filter. This company, by the way, is out of Czech Republic. I've known the family for about 32 years now. I've worked very well on some of their early designs, but I have a fabulous team. Everything is done in-house, filters, everything. The other thing about their motors, they only use Swiss motors in their system. They don't use Japanese or Taiwanese motors. And every motor is balanced. And so if ever a motor goes wrong, they ask us to send it back. And to be honest, in 5 years, we've not ever sent one back. But if we had to, they could tell you exactly who put that fan together and what time of day it was done. The other thing about this company is that they guarantee that if they ever change a product, the spares will be available for 10 years. The sister of this, which is the next one you'll see, it's called the Clean Air Pro. That's just been approved by the US military to replace all of the 3M chemical agent. And that was 2 years of trial. And so over the next 5 years, they will be replacing about 27,000 units that the military have in place of this one.
Where do you hook that up?
We then hook that up to one of several different types of headpiece. The most popular headpiece is this one. It's ergonomically designed. I mean, again, I'll hand it around. It feels very light. You can adjust it front. You can adjust it over the head. You can adjust it this way. You can tilt the visor up, and you can make the visor sit whatever angle you want it to sit at. And the other thing they're doing is, and this was quite interesting out in Denver this week, where it's very dry, that a lot of people with the air coming down across the face this way are getting dry eyes, over time. This way, they've developed the air, so the air comes around the side now and into the visor, and you have a comfort factor here that you can adjust to suit yourself, a bit like your car vent. You can adjust that to suit your own comfort factor. So this is the most popular headpiece they do. And it goes, obviously, just clips onto here. Quite happy you guys to try it, when I finish talking. And it's becoming a very popular product. Until a year ago, we would be doing 9 of those to one of its predecessor. We're now finding 3 of these to 7 of them are going out the door to customers. This whole system, I'll start with telling you that 3M's is 1,700. Sundstrom is about 1,400. Our system is 795. So the price of our system is so much lower, and the running costs are low as well. This filter, I think Sundstrom's filter is like $68. Ours is $42 for that filter.
How would you rate this compared to that in terms of?
This is a much higher protection factor. It's got more flexibility in terms of, if you don't mind wearing a belt-mounted system, this has 5 speeds on it. It is HEPA level filtration. So you've got the alternate and mechanical filters. The other thing you can do with this one is that you open this up, they do an activated charcoal wrap, which you can wrap around here, 2 layers of it. So if you're doing glue work and you've got odors, some people are doing wood burning, and they put the activated charcoal around it so they don't smell the burning.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, so you can wrap 2 layers, but if you do that with this, you have to use it on the lowest setting, because it does rely on the air movement across that membrane to deactivate. But if you try to ride it through at 235, you're going to get breakthrough reasonably quickly. So we do recommend use it on the lowest setting. So this is a product which is becoming very popular. It comes with three different headpieces. And again, I'm going to give these leaflets to everybody. If you go on the icon, they do a tight-fitting face piece, but you can wear it with a beard. It's the only one of its kind in the world. And that's become very popular amongst women to wear because it's lightweight and it's a face shield on. We also do a hard hat with a visor version, and that gets sold to people doing metal grinding work. We also have a welding version of that. So if you're doing welding, it's got an auto darkening lens, and we have a welding system. Again, every one of our systems seems to be $500 to $700 cheaper than any competitor if you're in the non-OSHA regulated environment. Okay, we have two systems in at NIOSH, but when they come out, they will still be around $300 cheaper than 3M and Sunstrom. I mean, that's our policy, is to keep the cost down, sell direct. We don't go through distribution. Another product we were finding is we found a lot of people doing cabinetry work or light work, not using their systems that often, and wanted something, but still wanted to go to powered air. So quite recently, we've introduced this one. I mentioned to you Otis. This is a company that produces a NIOSH approved product for the hospital market. We produce this with them now, which is the equivalent of an N95. It's 4 hours, the battery, rechargeable. An N95 filter, which is in here. So you have a pre-filter and you have a pad filter. If you're using this system, we recommend about once a week you change that, and that filter is $1. It's $10 for 10, and it comes with 10. So it sits in here like that. It has two speeds to it. It has 170 and 190 liters of air a minute. So if you don't have a lot of work and a lot of need, and again, I'll switch it off, but you can feel the weight of this unit. And it comes with this headpiece. Now, a lot of people say, well, why have you got all this around you? Two things for it. One, it stops all the dust getting everywhere. If you're doing the sort of wood where you've got skin irritation, you can now protect yourself completely. And the other thing about it, if you tuck this inside your shirt, it acts as a cooling system because it's taking that air and pushing it inside. So if you don't have HVAC in your shop, it's actually a cooling system as well. And that's why we call it a cool air unit. And so you've got impact protection to the highest standard. You've got a system like this, and this system is $475. So we brought the price right down. That whole combination, charger, by the way, all our systems are 1 year warranty, unconditional warranty. Anything goes wrong, you can send the whole unit back to us. We give you a return label. We return it back to you working if it's gone wrong. But you don't pay any of the charges for shipping it in that first year. It's all our cost. And we can say that comfortably because, to be honest, we don't get many back. I think last year we had 3 or 4 of the power caps back. We've never had one of these back yet when it's gone out. So this is the headpiece. You can feel it's relatively light. And again, I know to wood turners initially, I said, oh, we've got all this for, but when you tuck it all in, you've got total dust protection because it's coming down. And your protection factor out of this is getting on for 1,500 to 2,000 because it's tucked in and it's away from all the dust and dirt.
Did you take that cloth right off?
You can't. I mean, I had one customer recently, he chopped all this off and just left that seal on. So he chopped all this piece off. He used a pair of scissors and he cut it all off. And then he came back and said, can I get another top? Because he said it wasn't a good thing to do, but you can, because that's where your face seal is, around that piece. But if you really want better protection and you want to stay cool, I'd tuck it inside you. Okay. Now that is by far the lowest priced Papa on the market today. And it's high quality. You can look at it. I'm very impressed with it. Well, that
other piece that's going around. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is it goes with that unit behind you. This is the HEPA unit. I mean, bearing in mind that battery will run for 8 to 9 hours on the lowest setting, 7.5 on the highest setting. You've got HEPA standard filters. You can put carbon around it, and you've got a choice of 3 or 4 different types of headpiece that you can use with that. Okay.
Start my sneezing. So this would work with this top as well? Is that an upgrade or is it?
Let me have a think. Yes, no, you could use it with that headpiece as well if you want to, but we sell it as that combination at the moment. But you could put that on there as well.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, you see who's around here. We're not teenagers anymore.
No.
We've all got lung damage and whatever. If I'm your brother and he's your brother, what would you tell us to you?
I firstly would ask you what type of woods you're doing, because obviously you're into more exotic woods. I mean, there is this cliche, what grows under a walnut tree? Nothing, right? So if that gets in your lung, what's it doing to your lungs? So I think it very much depends on the type of wood you're doing and the frequency with which you're being exposed to it. Ultimately, the clean air, I mean, if you said to me, what is the best razor to protect my brother long-term if he's in the industry for another 10 years and wants to do it, it's the clean air unit. Undoubtedly, that's the highest protection factor. A guy in Lakeland the other day, he came and he said, what should I wear? I said, what do you want to wear? He said, well, I haven't got that long to live. And he looked, I didn't know how old this guy was. And I said, well, what do you want to do? And he does ash and he did mahogany. And I said to him, well, really, at your age, you really need to buy that. I'll buy that thing. So I happened to say to him, well, how old are you? He said, 89. And he still wanted a better respirator because his wife told him to go and get one. So it's very subjective. It's difficult based on your purse, you know, your wallet, what you can afford. All I do know is all our systems give very good protection at whatever level. The power cap gives excellent protection. You've got one. You've had it said 5 years, and that's an accolade to the quality of the product, I would suggest. That is for 90% of wood turners. If it's a budget and a convenience issue on the head, that is the best product. But if you're then saying, well, long term, I'm going to be into all these different types of wood, and as we get older, the lungs get worse, that gives you the maximum airflow. That gives you up to 235 liters of air a minute from 160 up. This one gives you 170 to 190. So that is ultimately the best system that you could buy.
But in reality, you're only looking at, what was the differential? That was
579, 795. So you're looking at $220 difference. And then you come back down to this one, it's $100 cheaper than that one. That is 475.
Yeah,
the last one I said.
Are you saying that this one is, rather use that one than the $475 one?
Personal preference. If you want it all on the head and you don't want a belt and you don't want this on the back, then that's why people like that one, because it's all on the head. I've got to try and find that battery for you because I rushed out of the warehouse and didn't check the battery. But you can feel the weight of this. This is why this one is so well liked, because you've not got a belt.
You've got to keep it outside the room.
Well, you have any of them. You should never work in your shop and take your respirator until you get out of the shop, whichever one you wear, because it's what you can't see. Let me liken it to you. If you blow cigarette smoke into that, it takes out the white powder, but you would still smell the nicotine. That filters out 1/10 of the size of a human hair. So all these systems are very efficient, but if you start getting into some of these exotic woods like this gentleman was saying, then obviously, and you're now looking at the skin issue as well, maybe that's the best solution. We just like to see people wear the right respirator, but it's very subjective to your wallet. Yes.
Yeah, the expensive one is 8 hours.
Yeah.
And this one is 4 hours.
But you can get another 4-hour battery pack for that $48 if you wanted to have 2 batteries. What we found is a lot of people doing cabinetry work and that, they're only working a few hours, they're only doing the hobby a couple of hours a week. They're quite happy with that.
And they're USB charge.
This is a USB port charge. The power, yeah, that's the power cap. These tend to be still the traditional chargers on them.
These filters are $50 and that filter's $1.
They're $48. They're $48. This filter is about, the filter for the clean air is about $44, that one. And then these pads for this one, but those we recommend you change it after 3 or 4 uses because it's just a pad. So you can't, I mean, these have long duration. You have to throw that away, but they are only $1 a time. So you get a pack of 10 with it. So again, how can, you know, once you sort of see how dirty it gets, you can't vacuum that, you can't clean it. So you've got to throw that filter away. This is the most popular one. We get an allocation from England of 150 a month. Our shipment's coming in tomorrow. And already, I think she said to me, there's 36 left. That's how popular that is. So we only get 150 a month into the United States. That's all we can get from the manufacturer. They sell them all over the world. Yeah.
Don't sell these to stores? This is
No.
strictly direct. We
sell direct. I think Woodcraft have one of those versions now for test marketing. So you might see one, but it's the same. It's the same price as our price. In other words, we give them a discount because they wanted to try it, but we're not keen to sell it to distributors. They used to carry the Trend. Yeah, they have the Trend in there, which is the heavy one. Somebody was saying how heavy that was.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the spares are expensive on it as well, I understand.
I've got a Trend and it's really a clunker, but it does the job. I mean, I can tell when I'm wearing it, I'm fine. When I don't wear it, I get irritation.
Right.
Away. So which of yours is comparable in filtering capacity?
The power cap.
Okay, what about the last one you showed?
Oh yeah, that's comparable to the Trend as well in terms of the filtering efficiency, and you get a higher protection factor from that because you've got the cape that tucks in. With a Trend, you'll get roughly the same protection factor as that, 200 to 300. With that one, as I said earlier, you can get up to between 1,000 and 1,500 because you tuck it in and it's way out of zone of any dust or particulate.
Trend, and even that one seems a little bit top heavy. The Trend is way top heavy.
I've never had a complaint from when you put it on and ergonomically balance it on the head, you don't get any neck stress or anything from that.
But if you bend over,
No, it pulls, the battery is put on the back to pull it back. And it's so light, the total weight of that is 1.2 pounds with the battery on it and everything.
Yeah, it's funny, when you first showed me one of those about 5 years ago, I was that close to buying it. And I'm no closer.
Well, I see a lot of trends on eBay these days. I go to a show and there's a little joke. There was another show, and we haven't seen the last few shows, but he would come along and he'd have all his trends stacked there. And at the end of the show, I did a SWAT one year. We sold 46 of those at SWAT. I looked over his stand, he had sold one of that. And it's an accolade to the product. It's, you know, they've done a nice job on it.
What could I sell a Trend for?
How much could you sell a Trend for? It all depends the condition. Probably a couple of $100 on eBay.
Perfect. I never use it.
can you wear glasses?
Yeah.
With any of these?
All these, when the ANSI standard for impact, we have overlays to protect the visor from glue and scratching. They have to be optically correct within the field of vision with those overlays on. That's part of the Z87 standard. So they are optically correct when you wear them with the overlays or without the overlays. We don't recommend you use them without the overlays because the replacement visor on that one is $59 for the power cap. The visor for these is about $20, but it clips in and out on that one. And this one, I think the visor replacement is about $26, and it just pops out like that. You can, if you wash them, firstly, you can't use any solvent-based material, right? But you could just use water, yeah, run it. I had a guy send his back the other day. We have a lot of chimney sweeps, send them back. We refurbish them from at the end of the season, and they pile them in a box, and we get them all back, and we clean them all up, tell them what spares they need. We don't charge any labor for doing that. So we get a lot back. And all I do is, well, got 2 people now doing it, but they run it under a tap with just warm water, no detergents or anything, and it cleans it. And
So. Is it because of the changeable glasses?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I thought we were gonna come back to that.
Yeah,
Wear glasses
you can
on.
wear all glasses under these. And the other thing, if you've got a slight gap where the glass goes in, it doesn't matter because it's pushing it away from you. The other beauty of that one, it's got an aluminum strip around the base, around the side, so you can pull it out and push it in to suit your face size. Because we have, like, there was a lady in Loveland, she had a tiny Asian lady, she had a tiny face. I squeezed it right in and it fitted perfectly. So that's our range of products. I'm going to give each of you one of these. If you scroll on this icon, you'll get our full picture of everything we do. There's FAQ. Yeah, there's FAQs on there, frequently asked questions. We do a chat room 5 days a week. Sometimes if I see someone on an open chat on the weekend, I'll answer it. I can't get our girls to do that, but I'll answer them. And I said, we're out of Punta Gorda. Anything is Ackline Road, near where Fresh Catch is. There's a Fresh Catch seafood place. We're in the back there. All right, yeah. We moved there about 5 months ago now. And we partly moved there because I live in Naples and I like to go in once a week to find out what's going on. But we've got one of the ladies has been with us 15 years. The other one has been with us 3 years. My son is in this business. Obviously, he's been in the business 10 years, but he's actually another contract. He actually has a contract with Marriott. He looks after all their AI programs. He did Bonvoy, their scheme. And now but he's only a contractor for them, but he got a pretty big number there. There's 17 people working for him, but he runs this company and I just help him. I mentioned earlier that we are developing a very exciting new product for which we've got 9 patents on it. During COVID, you can get on a plane if you have a valve on your mask, could act travel and you have a seal mask. We patented a system and Hopkins are putting it on trial in October of next year. It's going on a full trial. It's on temporary trial at the moment, where what we breathe in is exhaled, is clean, but what you exhale is clean. And we're developing this system for the medical market. We think it will come into industry as well. It's a very lightweight frame system. And we're quite excited about that because Hopkins has said if it works, just in Washington alone, they will put 3,000 systems into play with their medical teams. So that's my last development. I told my son, no more. This is my last one. So we're working on that, but it's got to go through the approval system here. It's going into European approval next February, but it will go into the US approval system probably the following year, 2026, by the time we get around to it. So that's an exciting development that we're putting together, and we're quite excited about that. Because if we can protect all our medical teams, can you imagine? Hopkins have an interesting thing. It's not public. I've made it public. So they claim they never had a single doctor or nurse get sick during COVID in hospital. And that's simply because they don't want a class action suit on their hands. So it's a very sensitive subject. And I said, that's why they've given certain of their people, the people with real exposure, ICU and EMS, they give them powered air now. So, yeah, which one, sir?
No, I want to strap one of these on.
Oh, yeah.
I'm remembering the 3M one was, I spent a lot of money for that. Not wedding.
Some people just hang them on the chair. They don't even bother to put them on their belt. Should have done it before I put it on you, really. It's a new belt. Can I just undo it again? Late in the day. Let's do that bit. May have done enough. I know I need to do a little bit more on this side. It's you and it's a bit of it. Look, now we can. The other little thing this is what I like about this company. If you're not wearing a unit, you can clip it on your belt to carry. And you've got a clip here on the top of the visor here. So this hose is not dragging. And then this goes on here. So I can take it off of here.
No, I'm just concerned.
Oh, you're just about, yeah.
So if I move, I bump into things.
Yeah, some people wear them on the side and some people just put them on the chair. You can put another hose. We do an extended hose for some people so they can put it on the chair and they're not if they're doing chair work. And we have an extent because there's no resistance because the motor automatically picks up to what is required at that airflow rate.
But I got it right. The price differential is $200.
Yeah, again, bang for your buck. That is the most effective system. Because I said, if you look online, Sundstrom's 1,400, 3M is 1,700. So yes, certainly value for money, that is the best, but it's so subjective as to what you prefer to wear.
Frank, you're gonna have to get Lynn to buy you that one. That's the trend.
So I said, if you're not a user of our product and you buy one, you get, if you go online, you'll see $20 discount and free shipping. If you like from this meeting, you get free shipping and $20 saving.
I can't remember. I don't think I got that. Any case.
Should have been. All of them. Yeah. Yeah, she probably use it as some people use them to wash their cars with the bucket. It is a nice case.
But the protective cover to put on the outside of the screen.
$37 for 10. All our screen covers are $37 for 10, depending on which model you buy. So, any more questions for me?
I'm sorry, so few of our clubs.
Oh, hey, I can come again. I do North Fort Myers every year. I go there and they've always got new members. So it's just thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Can I come down to pick one up?
Yeah, if you, which model are you thinking of? You can see Chandra or Shanna. I'll give you our cards. I'm not in the office, but they are. Chandra's there every day. Well, the two girls alternate one day off from home. So but Monday through Friday, we have somebody there. The power caps come in tomorrow. We were told today they were delayed because of the hurricane. So they're coming in tomorrow. So we've got those in stock and the Molina is in stock. Every one of these products, all the other products are in stock.